All right, so without further ado, we're going to go to our scheduled demonstrator tonight. So we got Bob Grinstead up. He's got a wonderful demo planned for us. Um, as typical protocol, it's his demo. Um, any questions or comments, we'll hold till the end of the demonstration. That way, the demonstrator is not interrupted or has a train of thought skewed by any of the questions that may be asked, and then you'll have full floor at the end of the demo to ask anything going on about the demo. So without further ado, let's go to Mr. Grinstead. Hey, Bob.
Hey, how are you doing, guys? Am I on here yet?
Yes, you are.
All I can see is Eddie, so maybe my screen's froze. Let
Well,
me,
that's so good to look at. I mean, hey,
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
we got you.
know.
You're
Let
there.
me get out and come back in. Is that okay?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
rest of
Go ahead.
us, the rest of us see you, Bob.
Okay, well, I can start the demo. I just can't tell what's going on without, or I don't think I can. Let me see if I start this thing. All right, can you see it?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna have to come out and come back in
Yeah,
then.
go ahead. Go ahead and come out and come back in and
Okay, I'll
make
be
sure
back.
everything's working right there.
and that's what happens here, folks, because our volunteers do this free and we don't put any pressure on them, and things happen. It's called life. We can live through it. It's fun this way. If you got something to talk about tonight, put it in chat. Say I need to talk about such and such. We have people that monitor this, and you may hear me say co-hosts. We have maybe a dozen folks that come here every single week that ask us, "Hey, can I help you do this? Can I help you do that?" Yeah, we can use the help, and we then we give you the official title of co-host, and you just help us out a little bit, and that's what we do. It pays twice as much as what a member gets, but then you do the math, and you'll come back and say, "You're going to be kidding me."
Okay, I'm here, guys.
There he is. I knew he'd be back. I knew he'd be. It was way overrated.
Yeah. All right. You want to put me back on here?
You're
Yeah,
on.
working on it here.
All right. All right. Well, I'm going to do a platter tonight, and I don't have the one that I actually was doing, but I do have two others. This one here is the first one that my wife saved. This was a plywood piece. It started out 3/4 inch pieces of plywood and all glued up. And then I turned it and turned both sides of it and came back with a router and actually made the little the design on the outside of it. But this one is real thin. It's maybe a 1/2 inch at the most in the center, but it goes down, so it is really less than that, probably 3/8 total. But that's one that I did. I have another one. All of these start out the same way. The reason I'm showing you this, they all start out on the lathe the same way. But here's another plywood one with a bigger rim, thicker. This one here was probably 1.5 inches to start off with. But so let me start the video, and you can see how I do these. Let me do a share screen here, and well, where is it now? Videos. Yep, now you're not going to do that. Hang on just a second here. There he is. Platter. I didn't have a can you hear it? Piece of wood that was large enough to turn, so I had to glue 3 pieces together. So I've got 3 pieces of 3/4 inch, 7/8 inch oak, probably by 9, anyway, 3 pieces of it glued together and turned down and made a nice platter. So let me show you how I did that. And instead of using greenwood, I like greenwood real well, but instead of doing that, I have glued up 3 pieces of oak. So now I have 3 pieces of oak that I've glued up, just regular 3/4 inch oak. I think it was like 9 inches across, and anyway, I have glued them up, and now I have a 16 by 16 piece, 3/4 inches or 7/8, whatever this is, thick, and gonna make a platter out of that. And I think that's gonna work great. I just need to find the center of it, and then drill a mortise on one side so that I can hold it in a chuck. I have a 50 millimeter chuck, and so you need like a 2 1/8 inch drill, Faulkner drill bit, and drill it down like 3/16. So 3/16, so I'm coming down here 3/16, but that's going to be the top. You have to figure out which side of it is going to be the top, or the part you're going to see in the bottom of the platter. So I'm going to drill this 2 1/8 inch hole in the top of the platter, and so I can finish it last. So I'm going to drill that, fold it in the chuck, in a 50 millimeter chuck, jaws, put a tailstock support up here, and finish this off on the back side. I'll probably just make a mortise in here, so I can still hold it when I flip it around. But I do want it to the actual outside the rim to be held off the table. I don't want the center to touch, and I don't want the outside edge to touch. So I'm going to make a come in about 1.5 inches or something on the edge after I round this thing off, and leave me a foot all the way around the thing. So we'll make it like an OG or something, and immediately leave a foot on here, and then hollow out the inside a little bit. And it won't take a whole lot, because again, this is not very thick. And I want the platter to be like 3/16 of an inch thick. I don't want it very thick either, so I want it to be a thin platter, and the rest of it will all go away. But anyway, I'll show you that in a minute. But first, I have to find the center of it and drill that hole. All right, so to find the center of this thing, I'm just going to mark from corner to corner. But it's a rectangle, it's not square. So we'll just go from corner to corner here and draw, and that is where my center is going to be. Before I drill the hole, I need to mark the circle circumference of this. If I can draw it out on here, and that's where I'm going to cut the band off. But I want to make this thing round before I ever put it on the leg. One, as big as it is, I couldn't get it under my the ways of the tubes on my leg. So it has to be at 16 inches or a little less. And I needed to go ahead and cut that on a bandsaw. So I'm going to drill this hole and then cut it out on a bandsaw. If that oak was pretty tough on that outside edge, once you break through the outside, it gets a little easier to drill. But I don't want to go down to like 3/16 of an inch, so that's plenty. Now I just need to round it off and clean it up. So I have cut a tenon in here. This is the bottom of the platter, and I cut a tenon. I'm going to come back and hold that in the jug after a while to turn it around and do the face of it. Just straightening everything out. And right now, what I want to do is to work on this edge here. I want probably an inch and 3/4, 2 inches back to be a little ring around here that likes to be the foot. And then the rest of this will go away, and this out here, I just want the foot right out here to stick out a little bit, and the rest of it can taper back toward the center. Or always flat. Making it round. Looks like I've got a little bit here, so I need to make it a little more. Get this thing round. And I'm taping it a little bit toward the edge. I just want it to stand up off the table. I don't want it to look like that edge is, this edge right here is actually being on the table. So I'm tapering this up to accomplish that and leaving that as the foot. It's going to work out fine just about at that height. Okay, so I'm putting a straight edge on here so I can see how deep it is, and it does taper a little bit toward the center. which is fine. It didn't have to be. It could be flat, but I don't want to go any deeper in the middle than that. And because it's just taken away from the front of it. But I think that'll be fine. Let me just straighten that up and sand it down. Okay, so I put some rings in here. Just by scraping them in. Just give it a little definition, so it's not just a plain flat black back on it. I'll come back and cut this off when I turn it around again. And when I finish the front. But the back is not done. I think I have it about sanded. And so it's looking pretty good here. Okay, so I've got the back of it finished and sanded and ready to go. But I'm gonna work on the front. I've got to decide if I want a lip up here. And I think I do. I think I want a little bit of a lip, maybe a quarter of an inch or 3/8. And then I'll take the rest of it out. But first I have to get it smooth. So you got some rough spots here. So I'll take those down until they just go away. And then make a little curve, a little lip here at the top. You know, it's all a designer choice. You just decide what you want your plate to look like, or platter to look like. If I leave it without a lip, then it looks kind of like a plate. And I'd rather call it a platter, so I'm gonna put a lip on. It's got a little wobble in it, but I'm not going to worry about it. I don't think they're going to be able to see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and make everything to this front face and don't worry about the wobble. I might could get it out. I don't think it's enough to worry about. Just checking to see if I got that flat enough. No, see, there's still some glue that I had to through. So it's not quite flat yet. The rest of it looks fine. It's just this, that run right there. So I've got to go a little deeper. Yeah, see that glue line is still there. Maybe I can sand that out, maybe not, but I'm gonna go ahead and take it out. Okay, so it's almost out right here. I think I could sand that out. And see that one there is a little bit too. Or is that the same one? No, that might be the same one. It is. It's the same one. It sure is chewing that out too. So, well, what I'm gonna do there, maybe I'll run it back the other direction. See if I can stop some of that tear out. Oh yeah, that helped it. Still got a little bit, but that's okay. I think I can clean that up. All right, so that's as thin as this top edge that I want it. Now I'm gonna make my little edge here, and everything else is gonna go to the center. So I don't want to work it a little at a time. Go ahead and get it done and sand it and have it almost completed. So I make one final push through here at the end, but because this is going to get separate. I just need to keep checking it so I don't get too thin out here. Let's see what that is. Yeah, it's getting pretty thin. right there is about 3/16. I think it's about as thin as I want to get it. But by the time I flatten that, then I think it'll be thin enough. Yeah, I can tell a definite difference here between the thickness of this and right here. So I am going to go ahead and turn this around. Not turn it around, but I'm going to turn the back side of this thing. Take that bounding edge down to where it's flat. Okay, just about got it. I need to sand this side again, and it'll be the same thickness all the way around. And that's what's going to really show. You know, you're not going to see that the bottom is a little bit off, but you will see that edge. So I want to make sure that edge is the same thickness all the way around. That's fairly flat across there. I'm gonna leave it at that. And that'll be a good thickness, so I just keep going. And I can sand this down a little bit. And just keep going with it. Okay, so I have the front side of it finished. I don't know if you can see it yet. I have the front side finished, ready to go. I do see that I've got a big glue line here, but I can't do anything about it now. I just didn't have the pieces smooth enough when I glued it up. The back side looks better, but you'll see it, but it looks better. But anyway, now I've got to take this tenon off that I had. And since I don't have a vacuum chuck or anywhere to hold it, because it's too big, I can't, my cold jaws won't fit it. So I've got to just grind this down, and I can do that fairly easy. That's not hard to do at all. So let me do that. You know, I'm switching grinders because it's almost flat and the other one's pretty aggressive. So is this one, but it's not as bad as that one. I am going to sign it before I put the CA on it. So let me do that. I have a razor tip burner and just a pen. Yeah, I have some pro grade disposable gloves here. I think they're for the food industry, but the CA won't stick to them. I forgot what they're made out of, but I can't see here. But anyway, but the CA won't stick to it, so that's a good thing. But I'm only going to do one side of this platter at a time. Pretty good sized surface, so I'm just going to start here in the middle and kind of go over it and wipe it off, wipe it on. I was going to fume this, but I thought that since it's I think it's red oak, I'm not real sure. It's got kind of a reddish tint to it instead of a white, like a true white oak. So, but anyway, I think it's going to be dark enough. When you fume it, of course, it gets darker, and which makes it real pretty. It makes that grain just pop. But I don't want it too dark. So I'm just wiping this on and gonna wipe it off here in a second. Just trying to get in all the cracks here. you know, you have plenty of time to work with it. You've got like 45 seconds before it starts setting up. You just want to make sure you get all of it off the surface. If not, you're gonna have to kind of sand it off because it will make globs on it or little beads. It seems like it starts drying in the wood first, and then you end up with beads on the surface. So you just want to keep wiping and make sure it's all off of there. But I do like the CA finish. It's a one and a done. So you just wipe it on, wipe it off, buff it. So let me let that set a minute, and I'll turn it over and do the other side. But it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty color. Yeah, I think it's dry enough to turn over. With these gloves, you know, you can kind of come back and wipe it across again and in case, because it does bead up on top. Like I said before, it kind of dries in the wood first and it beads up. And you can use your gloves to kind of smooth it out again to make sure you don't have those little rust spots. Anyway, I think it's dry enough to turn over. And it's been about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. So there's still a few signing spots, but I think those will go away here. I think it'll be fine. So I'm gonna turn it over. I do like these little forgot what you call them, mending plates, I think, from Home Depot. But it's like a bed and everything. I do like that to dry things on, so that's what I'm gonna use here. Set it up on it, and if you finish drying there, and let me get a fresh paper towel, and we're gonna do the front side the same way. I just want to make sure it's covered good. And then we'll come back and wipe it off. Try to get that edge too. Well, that come back and do it later, but might as well try to do it right now. Okay. Now it's just wipe it back off. Like I said, I've got 45 seconds to do it, but I don't want to wait till the end or it'll start sticking. And you can feel it when it starts dragging on. You kind of go with the grain. I don't think you have a bunch of grease in it. I'd have waited too long right there, but anyway, that's it. We're just gonna let that dry, and you come back in a couple of hours and buff it out. Might not even take that long, but I just want to make sure that it's not seeping out to the surface and making spots or beads up on the surface here. That's the reason I keep wiping it. Just to let it have time to kind of bead up if it's going to. If you put too much on, that's what it's going to do. It's going to bead up on the surface. And like I said, that just becomes a problem. Okay, so let me let that set, and we'll come back and buff that out in a minute. Yeah, I'm ready to buff it out with Bonnex. Let me get started doing that. You want to put on some type of a grounding strap. Otherwise you get shocked sometimes. This thing creates static electricity. And we don't want to go over with the Vonex, we don't want to go over 1700 with this. Pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to wax it, not over 1100.
I'd rip the taco.
Okay, so I have finished my platter, oak platter, and I don't think it's red oak. I really think it's a white oak, but it still turned out to be a dark oak. So anyway, it turned out fine. And like I said before, I could have made it darker. Cut this thing a little less than 15 to 16, and it ends up being 15 and a half. I've got a 1/4 of an inch of thickness here. and this is about 3/16. This might be a little more than a quarter, but the edge. But anyway, it turned out real good. I'm proud of it, and it'll make a nice gift. This is what it was going to be. It was going to be a wedding anniversary. Yeah. So anyway, I think it turned out pretty good. All right, that's it, guys. Any questions?
Very nice, Bob.
Super cool, Bob. Super cool.
Right.
Yeah, Bob.
I've got one question, Bob.
Sure.
With a piece that thin, when you were turning right towards the edge of the platter, did you get very much vibration?
No, not because I still have a lot of meat back toward the center.
Okay.
I'm trying not to turn that edge. I've got the first 3 inches turned, and that's about it.
Fine.
And then I would move in toward the center, and at that point, yeah, that edge is going to move if I get further in here. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of vibration there.
Good. Cheers.
What was the grinding wheels that you used to grind off the bottom? And do you dish it out at all? Do you make it concave at all?
The bottom itself, normally I try to make it flat, but this time it looked like it was kind of concaved in there. I went a little too deep, but that's just from using those big grinders. The coarse one, I don't know. I probably bought that at Harbor Freight or somewhere, but it's a real coarse one that goes on that grinder.
Is it a toothed wheel or a blade wheel? I couldn't see the wheel itself. I didn't know which one it was.
Yeah, it's a tooth wheel, so it has many teeth on it. It's kind of like a burr that you would get from a very coarse burr, like you get saber tooth or somebody like that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Carbide, and the other one is King Arthur's Merlin 2, I believe is what he calls it. But I like one. That's usually what I use most of the time. And CA, I don't know if it's food safe or not. I think after it dries, it's definitely not going to come off of there. But I don't know if it's food safe.
It's just as food safe as the slivers that come off of HDPE cutting boards.
No, right. Good deal.
When you did the platters out of plywood, what type of plywood were you using?
That's the Baltic birch plywood. It's the better grade plywood.
The three-quarter or?
That was 3/4, yeah, and just glued pieces up. I had many little slivers of 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch pieces and glued them up. Of course, they're all standing up.
Great demo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Bob, on your finish, the wax that you put on, what was that?
That's the Karuba wax. It's a hard wax.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, you don't really put a whole lot of wax on it. I've had that little piece of wax, probably 6-inch piece when I got it, and it's lasted forever. It's very hard. It doesn't get on the wheel very much, but you can tell it, when you're buffing it out, you can definitely tell the wax is on it because it feels waxy.
Anything else with Bob?
Hey, Bob, was that CA? Was that Parfex 3408?
Yeah, it's Parfex. That's the only thing I use. I don't lie. I don't even mess with the other stuff anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great demo, Bob.
Well, thanks, guys. I like to do them. I don't know that I'm sure not better than anybody else out here because my turning is not good, but it's the idea I think that I want to get across. How you hold.
Yeah, tell you the truth, Bob. Looking at that shelf behind you, I think you are.
Yeah, he doesn't give himself much credit. He's a really good turner, especially doing it on a shop smith.
Listen, that's
You got patience there,
good.
brother. You got patience.
Oh, I don't, I used to think when I first got into this, I'd already had that Shopsmith. It was the new one. This is the Power Pro with the variable speed, 220. And it's a nice machine, 2 horse. And it's a nice machine. And when I first got into this, I thought, well, boy, I've got to have a Powermatic or something. And then I'm looking at it and saying, well, I've already got a 2 horse machine. And so I just compensated for everything that was lacking, I guess, or I thought was lacking, like that 5/8 inch spindle. I increased that to the inch spindle. And
Right.
so anyway,
Hey,
You've made great modifications to it.
Yeah.
yeah,
if it
modifications
works,
are
it
phenomenal.
works.
Yeah.
that's right. If it works, it works. So I'm not looking
Well,
for a machine.
I have to say, that's the only shopsmith in the lathe orientation that I've seen with a platter that actually spun true.
Well, it's been real good. I don't have any problems with it. And
Good.
I think it's kind of like whenever you sand that tenon off, though. And I think about this too. You don't always have to go by rules or by the book or whatever. You don't absolutely have to have vacuum chucks or, I mean, if you can figure out something and put it up on the shelf, just figure it out and put it on the shelf.
that's it. I could have, instead of grinding it off like that, and I normally don't grind them when they're, if it's the more the tenon out here, I normally don't grind them. I normally put it on a jam chuck and put the tailstock back up against it to hold it on the jam chuck,
Right.
and turn it down to where it's just, maybe a 1/4 inch nipple sticking out, and then take it and grind that little 1/4 inch nipple away. That's normally what I do. I don't know why I did it different this time, but I did. Anyway, just a different way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Good job. Any other questions for Bob? All right.
Nice.
Well,
All right, thanks, guys.